Get this thing off to a spooky start. Shivana, thank you for joining.
My pleasure.
Yeah, happy you're here. Happy it's Halloween. Happy it's Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's actually tomorrow, or today, when I'm actually going to be able to release this thing. Halloween is kind of a funny time of year. It's like the beginning in a lot of ways. It's the end in other ways. Like growing up, you always think it's the beginning. It's like the start of your school year. It's like the start of when you end up going indoors and doing productive things throughout the winter. But it's also the end of all the beautiful growth from the summer, right?
At least in Chicago.
Yeah, it's true. This is hemisphere and climate specific, no doubt. But happy you're joining me. And then you also dressed up. You actually brought some Halloween clout to this thing.
Yeah.
Some actual spookiness.
Ooh, this is cool. Oh wow, this is very Halloween-y.
And then this is just gonna play for the rest of the episode. Just undermine your sense of safety the rest of the time. Welcome to the 61st episode of the Neverending Becoming.
Yay!
Halloween special 3.0.
3.0.
Hard not to deny.
Very special.
Yeah, very special. Shivana, special guest, specialist of the guests.
Thank you.
Being you've been around for the whole Neverending journey so far.
Took me 2 years.
Yeah, it took me 2 years to get you on. So really, that's more me. I should have been sweet talking you a little bit more.
This dude here is more experienced than I am.
It's true. This is Skeletor's third episode appearance for Halloween. Yeah, but Shivana's actually my girlfriend, my home partner, my domestic partner, my life, my light on this darkest of all holidays. So
tonight I'm partner in crime because I'm dressed like a burglar.
You're actually dressed up. You're actually a burglar.
I tried. I mean, this is Halloween. Yeah, I was not prepared for this, but somebody gave me a good tip last year, last minute Halloween fit. None other than your sister, who is very creative. Shout out to Heather if you're watching.
Nice.
She gave me this idea. Only if you have like strapped black and white stuff, you can put together a burglar get up, which is cool.
I'm glad you put that idea in the bank and then subsequently robbed the bank for your costume.
I did actually, and I found really great treasures.
What do you have here? Yeah, you have a gigantic.
I do.
I guess we'd call it a duffel or some sort of supersized Santa-like tote. Yeah.
It's not a dead body.
It's not a dead
or
body.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm a little let down at this point. But yeah. Oh, do we get to see that now? Yeah, I mean, especially if there's loot or bounty.
You have to promise me that you're not gonna try to loot it from me because this is the treasure. I'm telling you.
I'm still concerned you dressed up as a robber to steal this show. So really, anything you have in there that will take my mind off that will be a great thing.
No more mystery. Let me show you.
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
Like, everyone in the town wants.
I'm hoping it's crypto.
Seriously, this is
amazing. You know why this is okay? Toilet paper for anyone listening.
I don't know if they can see it in this dark.
People recognize that ruffle though.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
This is especially hilarious because you found a way to like subtly bring up the coronavirus, which is probably the most terrifying thing we've all been through in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, I tried to. But you know what? I also found something that was there in.
You gotta talk in the mic, baby. We gotta show these people what's up.
I also found something that was surprisingly your name was there. So I don't know. It says very urgent, so I need to give it to you.
Okay. That's okay. Democratic People's Republic of Korea. A little scared at this point, just from what I've seen in the media. I'm allowed to open this, I take it?
Yes.
Okay.
Please. Your name is there and it's very urgent.
I didn't know if I could do this with like a notary public or how this. Oh my gentle Jesus. I don't know. Yeah, you give me some supplemental light here. Look at this. You know, it's so funny that this came up. This is a Squid Game card, let's call it, if I had to describe it for the listeners. I see a circle, I see a triangle, and of course I see myself as square. No, but I actually was just planning on going into severe debt to pay extra money, due to inflation at the shortages coming up for Christmas. So I can get ahead of the game, really. I can win $40 million.
You're gonna call that number? You're gonna call that number?
Okay, I'm not even gonna read this actually. I don't want to read it on the air. I got too many. We have 37 fans at home, so I'm afraid it'll get too terrifying if I actually read it out loud. Well, thanks for passing this along. Worse or less sophisticated robbers or not less sophisticated. more scrupulous, like more mean robbers would have stolen this, would have taken this for themselves. So.
I'm a very nice robber.
Yeah, that much is clear. But thank you you made Corona a joke. You somehow managed to come up with a Corona joke at the beginning of the podcast. Hilarious. I did bring up how Halloween was the beginning and the end of things. Let's go a little bit deeper into that. It's the beginning of when I started the podcast. The first episode I ever posted to YouTube was the Halloween special when we were in Nepal, actually 2 years ago. We were visiting your family. We were having amazing days. We were having amazing food, all these experiences, and then I was going to edit this spooktacular podcast from 2 years ago. It was funny to think back on that. Do you have any like associations from Halloween, it being like the beginning of anything, the end of anything?
You know, when you said the Nepal journey and the time you're uploading the Halloween episode, that was like a beginning
100%.
journey for us, right? It was like a step up that you met with my family and
our relationship.
We had a new beginning
and
in a way.
We were talking about how you haven't had the luxury of having enough like normal Halloweens yet.
No.
Right?
No. I've been in the U.S. only for 3 and a change. And first Halloween, I was just so new, and I was living with my roommates who were also from Nepal. And and they were actually not in town. I was by myself in an apartment, and apartments, like condos, don't get like Halloween.
Right, condos specifically.
Yeah, they're deprived of Halloween fun.
You did dress up your first year at work, though.
At work, last minute, I borrowed my roommate, who is a doctor, her coat, and I was dressed like a scientist.
That's good. Resourcefulness is probably the most important skill you could have for Halloween. No, but you got an instant dress up. But then we mentioned the next year we were in Nepal, and then there was a certain COVID type variant virus a couple years after that. This year being included.
So I'm really excited this year, especially how we were planning yesterday about sitting outside to hand out candies. I've never handed out candies. Maybe like I know a little bit more concept about Halloween now, but like handing out candies, I think will be very special tomorrow, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, how do you think it's going to go exactly? Like, are you imagining these transactions in any certain way?
I think we'll be sitting outside. It'll be very cold because it's Chicago,
Classic
but
Halloween.
we'll fight it, and it will just be so much fun to see neighborhood kids. Like, we got to see some kids during our block party. Like, I haven't gotten a chance to know them much, although like we see a bunch of kids playing in the playground. There is a school next to us. So
no, it's and then. Are you planning on denying kids if they don't say trick or treat? Like if they flub the
no,
the
I'm
intro?
not gonna be like Larry David from his Trick and Treat episode that we watched. No, I'm not gonna be like him.
Shivana just got into Curb Your Enthusiasm, so
Yes, I'm gonna give it to anyone, even if they're 40 years old and they show up. I don't want any tricks. I only want treats for everyone.
Yeah, Larry David was cutting off people, I think, at 16, 17 years old. So we don't want to make any enemies in the neighborhood. So no, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I haven't done the whole outdoor version either. Usually you inside and then they knock on your door, ring the bell, whatever. You got a minute to run down. I used to run down, live on the second floor. But this time, yeah, it's going to be different. Like sitting outside, actually being there. Obviously it'll feel a little bit more social, because sometimes you're like far away from the parents and they're like at the curb or something and you can't really like small talk with adults, whatever. It's just like handing out candy.
Do parents come with the kids?
Good parents. Yeah, the parents take care, you know. But you actually, we're talking about like you haven't celebrated Halloween a lot or whatever, but Halloween is one of the elements of like American festivity culture that you're more familiar with because you've seen so many scary movies, right?
Right.
Like that's the genre of movie you've seen most often.
Scary movies, but I like they were not necessarily related to Halloween exactly. I knew Halloween is a bit culture in the U.S. and it's kind of like Hollywoody. I don't know, like Hollywood culture.
Yeah, what was in your mind a few years ago when you first got here?
About Halloween?
Were you thinking just like the Halloween frat party element?
Yes, I did not know people were so serious from their homes, like the decorations they put out. The first year, I was mind blown. I'm still mind blown. This year we went around and saw so many great decorations, right? But the effort people put in it at their homes, like I only knew about the parties. So that was pretty interesting.
In all fairness, months before your initial Halloween, even you came to my 666 trivia party, which is extremely devilish, and basically it was a Halloween party in March. So
yes, and that was like the American party I had ever imagined, like house parties that people do.
Yeah, it was like
rooms cramped with people and like cool, cool vibes and lots of fun, of course. And you had immaculate lightings and props and whatnot. So
yeah, lots of red lights. I had like red collar type glow sticks around everyone's neck, so just emitting like a terrifying glow in the air for everyone, right?
It was very interesting.
So wait, you didn't see a lot of like Halloween scary movies, but you saw a lot of scary movies.
I did see a lot of scary movies, yes. That was like one of the things I did with my cousins whenever they came to sleep over at our place. We would like save movies just to watch together. So yes, I did watch a lot of scary movies. Compared to other Hollywood movies.
Yeah, no, I was curious, like what gave you the bug for that? Like if you had your cousins were into it, or if it's just did those movies were more fun to watch because it relied less upon. I know they say like comedic movies don't translate well to other languages because comedy can be very reliant upon a turn of a phrase or something. Yeah,
I think I agree to that to a great degree because comedy, I think we always watch Bollywood for comedy.
Yeah.
But for scary movies, we lean towards Hollywood.
Do you have a favorite? Or what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, what were you asking?
Do you have a favorite scary movie?
Yes, I do have a couple of favorite scary movies. The one that is right now in my head is Blair Witch Project that we recently watched. I didn't watch that growing up, but like it was really cool. Last year around this time, that's when we watched it.
Yeah. This is because all my homemade videos look like Blair Witch Project. That's why Shivana is
I do have a little soft spot for like low budget movies. Like I just admired them. I think more like, that good entertainment can put together even with like less budget.
Yeah. I'm glad you have a soft spot for indie video because otherwise it'd be a long life.
And then we were watching it in such a perfect environment. We were actually in a cabin in the woods, so.
That's right. We spent a lot of time alone in a cabin in the woods last year, specifically in October. I think that's one thing maybe we were missing a little bit from this year's spooky season. Is the desolate isolation that only a worldwide pandemic could bring you, right?
No, I'm not missing that part.
Let's talk about some of the elements of like Hindi movies that are scary. Because we were doing a decoration walk and we saw something that reminded me of something you were telling me about. What is something that's different about like scary elements or visuals in Hindi movies?
I don't know why. I think it's very sexist, but they usually made like women scary in Bollywood movies. Women with long dark hair, in white sari.
Yeah, so
with
it's
a candle. Like that is like a very classic.
With a candle.
Yeah, very classic like portrait of a scary. Yeah, ghost.
Well, people always like use the term boogeyman here. Oh, the boogeyman, whatever. Like, I mean, it was the boogie woman. Like in Bollywood type movies, right? They would use the woman as the scary protagonist. And then you mentioned all white. So here, like, if you're trying to scare someone, usually it's like dark colors or all black. Mike Myers famously has the dark blue jumpsuit, right? Jason, pretty much more of the same. Freddy Krueger, black and red stripes on his shirt.
Okay.
But they went all white. Total flip of the script.
That's a good question. I do have a answer to that. It's because death rituals are associated with white in Hindu culture. People wear all white to mourn. Just like I think you wear black here, right?
What do you mean wear? What do you?
Like people dress up all white when you
Wear
go to
black
a funeral.
hair. Sorry, I thought you said black hair. I thought we're switching to the other things. You said the
My
long black
accent.
hair.
My accent.
No, that's right. Yeah, so that makes sense. So it's foreshadowed by the rituals that happen for like death type ceremonies. Here you like think of white. It's like the birthing ceremonies, right? It's like the baptisms for kids. A lot of times they're in like white gowns when they dip them in the holy water. You obviously wear white for a wedding, the start and the birth of like a family's life together. But I think that's something that like they could happen more often is like flipping the script and using white, you know, like sort of it's always like associated with purity or whatever, using that element as a way to seem unsettling. You know.
Right, and after all, we're East and West, so there should be, I guess, there are meant to be some polarization.
Yeah, you know, we have these kind of conversations all the time, like what type of stuff is universal, what type of stuff is chosen or like cultivated over time by a population, right? Yeah. No, I mean people I'm trying to think just in general about Halloween, it's like what does it mean to you? Do you feel like you have a definition for the holiday? Like if you were to describe Halloween to people back home now, like do you have a way you'd like to talk about it?
I don't know if I have like a specific definition of it because every year I'm learning something new and I think there's a lot, but I see it as a very Hollywood inspired capitalistic holiday, but again, not to be negative, but I think
100%. The candy, I mean the candy alone, it's like a product type thing, it's a branding thing.
But it's also so much fun, you know. I was very tempted to buy Squid Game costume. Like when we were talking about I was going to podcast, I was like trying to Google and see if there was a pickup I could do for costumes, and they're not cheap. And I think there was also no pickup available. But I was really tempted, and I kind of like felt, I was like, whoa, look, this is how the capitalistic America sells you things.
Actually, I made a joke in the last podcast with Arpit about how basically they just need to start front running the holidays. So anytime they release like a Halloween type movie, boom, they can instantly release the costume that they sell along with that movie with it. It's like going along the merch route that like seems to be so present for different media now, right? Influencers like doing nothing but selling t-shirts, what have you. Squid Game card, I think, was a better call. I think you did a good job with
right.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Resourceful. I actually even used like a wasted envelope to make that. So.
Is this a way to bring up a plug for your business, Collabo? To start talking about the cards that people could purchase at home. I did want to ask you actually the scariest thing about owning a business. I'm going to circle back to that. But I already saw people who did podcasts and had like the pink jumpsuits for Squid Game, and it's not quite the same. Like if you don't have the AK-47, like the giant gun, and of course the set dressings that are half ripped off of Stanley Kubrick, you know, the background.
I was looking to buy, when I was looking for Squid Game costumes, I wasn't looking for any of those pink jumpsuits or those tracksuits, but I was looking at the doll, the yellow
the red
t-shirt,
light, green.
red light, green light doll.
Yeah, we could just have the skull do it. We could just have this guy like move things back and forth, try to terrify people. What is the scariest part about owning a business? You started a card company and you're trying to cultivate. I'll let you speak on it. You tell us what you're working on now. What's been something that you've been doing in your business? Describe your business.
You put me on such a spot right here.
You use the recycled card stack. You use the card. I mean, I felt like it's appropriate. We're in my business as we speak. We're literally creating and forming my business with every word that we give. So
give me a second.
You manifest things with talk, what have you.
I've always been fascinated about business, how you know, because I grew up in a business household.
Why don't you start talk about what that means exactly? because people don't know your story, right? Like, this is a normal podcast, a less spooky podcast. I might just be asking you questions about your life. I'm trying to like steer everything toward like a scary or
I
like.
also don't want to take a lot of footage or time just talking about, how...
What are you talking about?
When I start talking about Nepal, I'll just be like, I'll keep going in there, like so many things. Anyway, but...
Growing up in a family that had a business. Talk about that a little bit.
Growing up in a community who are known for business. My ethnic community back home in Nepal, Newar people are actually known to be business because our forefathers were merchants. They used to trade between India and Tibet and indigenous to the capital of Nepal, right? So my family had always owned a little bit of small business, both my mom's side and dad's side. And my mom and dad actually went to school and they took a 9-to-5 job. But my dad actually kept doing his side stuff with the shop that he had. So he sold Coca-Cola. I told you brought Coca-Cola for the first time in the small town I grew up in. So he just kept expanding and he dropped off his 9-to-5 and he still has a shop that employs 12 people and he sells lots of things including beverages, liquor, kitchen items, a lot of different stuff.
So the scariest thing about growing up in a family business is that they sold evil Coca-Cola. The hardest, most evilest thing.
Coca-Cola still has a soft spot in my heart. I
How can it
don't
not?
drink it as much, but
How can it not? No, that's understandable.
there is a kind of thirst that nothing else can quench except for Coke.
Yeah. And this gets to the candy love from Halloween, so lots of overlap. I won't make you give the full business plan for your business, okay? We can keep this about my business, the sinister element that I have going on here in the Neverending universe. But if you do think of anything scary about it, I think people would be interested to hear.
There are a lot of things that is scary about starting something on your own, be it business or something else. It's can be very isolating. I think that is the scary part.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people prefer the comfort of 9-to-5 where you can be with a team or work with people and then, there's like a feeling of security, I guess, more than when you start things on your own and also discipline.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of discipline.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure too. Some people find themselves around other talented people and maybe they're able to contribute in some way, but you don't feel like the whole performance is based totally on what you do day to day, which is tough.
And then it's, as much as there are more resources and more access now, there's also a lot more distraction. It's an era of distraction and it's hard to do like a focused, disciplined work, which is very needed in any kind of entrepreneurial venture, I think.
Yeah. The whole point of this podcast, I'm going to try to scare people into either wanting to work for themselves or never wanting to work for themselves. Whichever line you're on, I'm going to try to push you on the other side of it if at all possible. Let me ask you about an experience we had recently. We were lucky enough to go to the Olive Garden. Not gone out to eat a lot, but some neighbors invited us there, and they chose the spot, whatever. I noticed a couple of funny things. Number one, I just love to hear your impression of the Olive Garden. Someone who's never been there before. Obviously, it's like a staple, whatever. But I also noticed a lot of the Neverending branding stuff.
Their menu, yes.
Yeah, how they kept using the Neverending nomenclature for their Neverending soup salad and breadsticks.
That was so funny.
Also, specifically, Neverending, where they ran together the words Neverending, like I do, but then also like with a dash. No, what they did is one had a dash and one had a space, and then neither ran together. So, and it was slightly comforting that even they were making like grammatical mistakes for it or whatever. But what'd you think of that? What'd you think of the Olive Garden?
Are you talking about like my impression of it?
Sure.
My experience? I think they're overrated in terms of food.
Yeah.
Their food wasn't really
I-
top notch. They were okay. Again, for the price, for the value, they were not that cheap. I think
Yeah.
dishes were $19 for a pasta, right? But I loved seeing all generations there. There were like different generations of people in the same place, and also like living in Chicago, you do see a lot of diversity, which I always admire when I go out in places like restaurants or public places. Except for that, it was really, the customer service was good. Like people were nice.
They had like a pretty refined experience. That's like the nice thing about it, is they had it worked out.
The best part definitely was seeing a very old couple. I guess they were like in their mid-80s or something. They were sharing salad that looked so cute.
No, I mean, it's made me feel like we weren't getting out living enough. Obviously, the whole point of this, the reason I'm asking about the Olive Garden, is it's scary that that's where we're choosing to go out to eat. That's going to be the scariest element of this. No, but it was great. It was great to see them, and, you know, in general, it's always fun to go to places you haven't been in a long time. See what's changed, see what hasn't.
Yeah, and we saw a group of high schoolers, I think, next to us.
Yeah, I remember that's what
that
we
was
kept
interesting.
commenting on afterward. Yeah, like, what the hell is going on? Because things were like $15-20 a plate, but then there were like 15-year-olds there, right? Which doesn't seem to match up.
Yeah. But overall, very fun experience.
Yeah.
I'll go back, you know. I wasn't trying to be negative about the food, but it's just Italian food's special, I think. Everyone loves it, all the generation loves it, and it was a fun experience. I'd go back there.
Yeah. No, I mentioned the 15-year-olds being there or whatever. I also mentioned inflation, so maybe the 15-year-olds, the paper route that they do now, that they get paid more. Maybe they can afford the Olive Garden, right? It's been opened up a little bit.
Yeah, you can tell now. Seriously, there are 15 years old millionaires out there.
Yeah, seriously. They're probably selling NFTs or something, like showing us up. Probably, honestly, I should just take a photo of this guy and turn it into NFT. I think that'd be the best idea. Let's talk about costume parties a little bit. I know, like, you talked about the Americanized whatever, this and that. I always wish we were going to a costume party because you pulled this together pretty well. The robber outfit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks to your sister again.
Shout out to Heather. Great work, Heather. Heather's a great resource for.
And she takes Halloween seriously.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
She does. And then she's a scary movie fanatic too, which helps, I think. The spooky vocabulary you build over the years, the characters in your mind, you know. But costume parties. What do you feel like? Do you have any like future costumes you'd like to use in at other parties, or?
I don't know exactly. I think it really depends on what's trending around the time.
Well, that means you want to do something that's like hip, right, or that's like substantial at the moment.
But also, like, more resourceful way. Like, I'm very proud that I did not give up to this temptation of buying a costume and like made something out of what I have. But having a couple of wigs, I think, serves well for any kind of party. So I know you will agree on that with me. So maybe like getting a pink wig and get ready for Squid Game 2 because we know what's coming up. And he has just a suit on, so pink hat, suit on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, the red hair is comical. I don't know if it would work in this lighting in here. It might. It might fly. It might work out.
What about you? What has been your favorite Halloween costumes that you've ever chosen?
Talk about Squid Game. I always do TV characters. I find myself doing a lot of TV characters. Been Conan O'Brien, Don Draper, Walter White, Jesse. If I had to pick one costume
that you've done in your lifetime.
Jeez. You mentioned like costumes that you make yourself and how that's like special. That is a huge deal. I will say one that really hit hard. I'll give two actually, both pre-bought, whatever. One was like The Mask when I was 6 years old or something, and like when this movie was hot. This Jim Carrey movie. It's like his giant yellow suit with that.
I have seen The Mask. It was popular in Nepal too.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah, Jim Carrey. But I had the mask suit and like this amazing mask tie, and I was 6 years old, so I was like a kid, but I was like a bigger kid, so it filled the suit decently, whatever. And we had like a parade around school, whatever, and I was strutting my ass off in that yellow suit. It was amazing. The other time was probably when they started selling costumes. I kind of feel like it was a fad at one point, where they would have like a normal costume, sort of like a ghost mask or some sort of dark cloak, some sort of black cape or something. But then they realized you could like put amendments underneath to make yourself seem scarier. In this case, I had one that made me just insanely tall. Like
I'd love to look at a picture. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I don't know if I have any for that. And like it was so ridiculous because they just added like 4 feet of height to you. They basically had PVC pipe on your shoulders that pushed the black cape like up into the sky, and you just straight up like looked out of like semi-transparent black fabric, but you're like looking out through the chest though. So like there's like a head up there. It has nothing to do with you, whatever, but it looks pretty amazing. And of course, like I was like 12 years old or something at the time, and kids would like freak out and like. Yeah, it seems so scary because you're young. Everyone already seems so big and scary, whatever. And then you like put this like thing on. And, yeah, it's just a whole nother level.
That's really interesting. It must have been like as a kid. I think Halloween must be everyone's favorite. It just seems so much fun, and you get candies.
Yeah. Well, candy. I mean, it's fun when you're a kid. Like, food is your drug, in a way. Like, especially candy. Like, the fact that they give kids caffeinated and sugared bars is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, there are some families who, like, bar kids from eating candies but get a pass on Halloween. So, that must be special.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. We're just cheap parents who would never want to buy you candy.
I love seeing the decorations people put in their homes and... it's basically when they put it outside, it's for people passing by. It's special. It's like outward facing for the community,
Oh yeah. And this year it has gone to a whole new level. Obviously people are enjoying their work from home status still, or possibly disposable income.
I'm specifically feeling renewal this Halloween for sure because things have been coming back to normal more and Yeah, I want to like lean into that more. I was like trying to push that earlier, like Halloween not being the end of the growing season, but really being the start. And I keep feeling this more and more, not just the podcast, not just our relationship, but also that time you end up spending indoors. You kind of, I find myself requiring myself to come up with something exciting to work on, or exciting to do, exciting to build around this time, because you kind of know what's coming in winter, and like there's no reason we should associate it with like leaves falling to the ground or the trees being barren. Like it should be fun and exciting and vibrant. Yeah, I totally agree with you, and especially also being gardeners. It is very ritualistic, I think, because we were just cutting down some of our bushes today, preparing for the winter. And for the first year I started doing gardening, it was a little disheartening because we had a lot of like flower baskets that I had to like say goodbye to, and we had put so much effort, and we'd enjoyed it throughout the summer. But like this year, I've been very positive. When I was gardening today, I was telling myself, wow, like I'm ahead of time. I'm preparing them for winter. They're gonna come back stronger next year. And I'm part of a community garden too. We slow down in winter, but I've been really trying to like think of that time as like brainstorming, becoming more creative, and getting ready to execute things for next year.
Halloween is the only opportunity Americans have to positively acknowledge the death part of the life cycle.
Do you think it's not really talked about?
Oh, it's never talked about. I mean, I don't know exactly why that is. I mean, our country's only a few hundred years old, so we don't have some of the same death-ridden history that other countries do, like the Black Death, like literally, and even our place in some of the worldwide conflicts, it's not as saturated with the blood of young people that other countries have experienced. I think it's, definitely some sort of bias from the U.S. always being so economically powerful too, and viewing themselves like sort of pathologically as like winners or as people that are living.
Or you just don't have time. You're just working. I'm kidding.
Too hopped up on 100 grand bars and 100 grand salaries.
Life is busy here, for sure. I think there's...
But we miss out. We don't acknowledge the positive elements of death in the life cycle, in death's role in life.
Yes.
And I know in ours, like you come from a place where that is acknowledged much more.
Oh yeah. I grew up seeing so many death rituals. When people die, but also like annual thing, community thing. We have sort of like Halloweeny tradition in my community. Actually 2 of them. One where you just burn the scarecrow, like you make a scarecrow and like burn it. It's in June, July, and also around the same time, there is a ritual where if there is a family member who passed away, you have to make like a, I don't know how to call it, like a custom made, put their photo in it, something with a straw and wood. You will hang their picture in it and take a parade around the town. It's like basically telling everyone in the town that like this person from my home has passed away. And people actually dress up different things. Like you could be dressed up like one of the Hindu goddesses or like mythical characters. And it actually started because one of the king's child died, and wife was terribly in depression. Queen was in depression because of that. So the king just started this tradition to make the wife laugh, because people would disguise into different things. Men would like put on women's clothes and like parade around the city and dance. So he started this tradition in my town. Now it's celebrated in 3 towns in the Kathmandu. But
you parade around with someone's photo. You mentioned like a straw frame or something. Is this an ongoing thing, or does this only happen like one time?
It happens every year.
And then, like, do you choose the people you parade based on who
you are
died
invited.
most recently, or
you could do it only when the first year the person died.
Right.
And then the family invites whoever they want to be part of that parade. Friends and family, they can also show up. You don't need invitation if they're your really close people. So some parades are really big, like a group of people, they all holding incense, or you could put music and like people disguise into different things.
When someone passes here, there's like a funeral, or there's like a wake and a funeral. So maybe at best you get 2 instances or 2 days where you're able to get together. And I feel like this is the most common setup, but it's much more important to just have more like times you can actually get together with people, because that's like the whole point, right? To keep the connections of the living still going.
Yeah, funeral is a whole other thing. There's like so much ritual again around funeral. This is like just once a year, the whole town, families of whoever have lost their family members, like do the parade. So you actually see like it's not just me. There are hundreds of others in the town who've lost someone. It kind of like gives you that collective strength to get through it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that too. It's like not just you and your family, like it's everyone's life.
That's how I felt when my grandpa passed away. That was like the first death in my family that I like remember. My dad's dad, and we went to this parade. I think my cousins were dressed up. Like usually, like you dress up young ones, or you could choose, but like adults are no more comfortable disguising. But that's how I felt. Like, oh, there are so many other people who died. I was 11 years old, and I went to that parade.
I love that. I mean, because here someone dies. I remember when I was young and people would die, and there's almost like a shame in it, like a sadness to your shame. So, and I obviously don't think that's providing any good utility whatsoever. Another element of when people pass is, I guess, what things are taken away that are normally present, like the celebratory or the positive, fun things that aren't around when someone does pass away. Specifically, if someone important to you and your family dies, you don't celebrate holidays for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's you could view that of course, a number of different ways, but it does a good job of connecting like the loss and what's not there or what's not something you want to celebrate or whatever with the moments you normally are forgetting those things or celebrating positive things or quote like priming yourself to be happy, right? You also mentioned the scarecrow thing. What is the scarecrow? You gotta describe that a little bit.
I think it's like a farmer's tradition probably. It's called Katemango in my language, Newari language. Every neighborhood like come together and make their own scarecrow with like hay, straw, whatever resource they can find, and then actually people sometimes put politicians' faces on it now to burn it, but that gets political. But usually it's just like a demon that you burn, and it used to be scary. Like I don't know, there are like folklores about like witches coming out that night. You know, so I used to be scared as a kid with that holiday.
Is it related to crops or anything? Is it?
I feel like it's related to agriculture because they just have, it's like a prime June, July, August, end of monsoon. Because they use like straw and hay, but most of the props around there are usually around natural stuff.
Do people like hit the body or like throw arrows into it?
It's usually just men, and I was really terrified to even go out. Like young men, old men, they all come together and build this thing, neighbors, and then, I guess you drink, eat, burn it. There are like several burning festivals like that, also in Scandinavia. You know that, right? They burn like a thing.
Not totally. I've seen Midsommar.
Midsommar. It's a Midsommar festival. Denmark had one too, where they burn like a huge stack of wood, I guess. I don't know. I didn't get that close, but they have like something burning festival where they get together and burn.
I'm glad you spent some time in Denmark, so that way when you see some freaky midsummer stuff in my family, you won't be too thrown off. It'll seem like it's natural.
Gotta bring up Midsommar at least once. It's Halloween.
Probably the scariest movie I've seen in a while. At least like one that stuck with me, kind of like, kept itself in my brain. Troubling.
Yeah.
It didn't help that shortly after we watched that movie, I found like a photo of my great-grandfather at a table.
That was hilarious.
At a table just like they eat at in Midsommar.
And they were all dressed up, and
Right.
they were all white, like Scandinavian-looking people. Yeah, and they all looked serious too. I don't know. There was like a good food spread, I guess, but they all looked serious. That was so funny.
Yeah, that was great. I need to find a way to bust that out at some point and share that. I feel like...
Yeah, if you can insert it right here. I don't know where.
I'm trying to create some editing work for me. Oh yeah, actually, no. You know what I'll do? I'm not going to use it now. But the idea being that one year for one of these Halloween specials, I'll set up the camera and everything just like that. Do you know what I mean? So like, it'll be this whole visual element with
this table could work.
a bunch of scary white Swedish people sitting at the table. Yeah, no. I was really excited to.
Sorry.
That's all good. I was really excited to set up for Halloween. I feel like I don't know. There's it's fun to immortalize the podcast in different ways and to think about dressing up the podcast and. Like this is like, I feel like my new version of dressing up. Like this is the party I put on every
I think you're saving it. I think, because I know you can pull off really crazy things and smart things. So I think you're saving it for your best Halloween episode yet to come.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about Halloween the entire time too. I know it's attractive too. I feel almost obligated to with the bats swirling on the table.
No, I do want to.
Spooky lights.
Yeah, we can switch topics, but I do want to learn more about Halloween from you. Like, what is your favorite scary movie? I know you don't watch a lot of scary movies, but if you have to pick one.
It's. You mentioned Blair Witch, amazing pick. Truly one of the movies that scared me the most in my life. Just because there's nothing quite like it when it came out. The whole shaky cam thing. It's a big deal. I love The Shining. It's like a classic.
Yes.
The Shining is so good.
Yeah.
Anything that's got like strong visuals like that. I like The Ring. The Ring like stands out as a movie. I think a lot of people my age say that. You haven't seen The Ring?
No.
Oh.
Tonight?
Actually, we just watched the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. They had the part of that was a Ring spoof.
Yeah, I could not catch all of that because they were all spoofs.
Yeah.
Parasite was definitely really good.
The Simpsons did a Parasite take for their most recent episode. Really striking gold. They didn't even know Squid Game was going to be so big, so they picked extremely well.
Next year.
I like the first Halloween too, the original Michael Myers Halloween, and then anything after that, it's probably like a far second. It's not anything that's really gonna get me in the same way. Movie that's not a scary movie, Requiem for a Dream. I feel like,
What is it?
the sound went out. Let me check, make sure it's still recording.